ETS Cymru have been hearing from youth workers who have been wanting to find out more about how they can engage with young people on the topic of politics. It's a challenging subject, so we've come together to create a short video for you which includes information from myself from a youth worker practitioner background. It includes students from Cardiff Metropolitan University talking about their experiences being trained to become youth workers and the importance of political education. And we also hear from Grant Poiner as well, who is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Wales, talking about how they have implemented different activities and programs to engage with young people on this really important topic. For more information, there'll be signposting at the end of the video, and we hope that this is useful and practical for you.
Young people tell us they want to learn more about politics, and we try and do that in a really informal environment by meeting with them and talking to them around key issues. Sometimes young people may not be interested in the key things they see on the news or they read on the internet, but they really focused on issues, key issues that affect them.
There's a lot of people that are disconnecting from politics, from what they're seeing, but politics is actually very close, and it is about, there is a way that we can be activists within how we live our lives. And I think as youth workers, you can support them in giving them but creating guidance to see through a lens that they normally wouldn't see through at home. You know, so connected with your peers, there's only so much that you're into, but really, young people have such an inquisitive and such an intelligent minds to be so expansive, and it's about them realising how brilliant and amazing they are at such a young age when society actually may not acknowledge that.
Some young people might need something, but they don't have a voice or they don't have a place to speak up. They feel like their voices are not recognised or is not valued. That is one reason why young people wouldn't want to go into politics or support politicians. But if the politicians are working hand in hand with young people, hear their voices, find out their needs and work with young people, definitely the young people will want to go support the politics and want to be part of it.
One of the biggest questions I get asked from youth workers is, how can we make politics fun? How can we get young people engaged? My answer is, it's quite easy. Talk about issues, things that they care about. Often in the past, when I've gone in to deliver workshops around political engagement, they'll say, here's Kelly, and she's here to talk to you about politics. And I'll get a groan from young people like, ugh, why? However, if I just sit and chat with them and ask them about school or their community or transport or health or things of interest to them, they've all got an opinion, they've all got something to say. So I always say it's really important to take it to the issues.
Young people were really interested in well-being, so there were a lot of questions about mental health. There were a lot of questions around provision, about opportunities for young people, whether that was through leisure centres or youth services. Young people are really astute, and they were very good at quizzing the politicians, and sometimes seeing through what the politicians were saying. You know, they were quite going into detail and making sure that their questions were answered. It was a really great event and to witness what we saw.
As youth workers, we all have our views on the world. We have different viewpoints, different beliefs, from the way that we were raised to our own lived experience. And it's really important to acknowledge that, because that's what makes us a good youth worker, that lived experience. However, when it comes to doing our work and engaging with young people, it's really important that we try to remain politically neutral. It is absolutely fine for people to have political party affiliations, to believe in a certain thing. But when it comes to working with young people, it's not about passing that on to young people. It's about creating a safe environment where they can express their viewpoints and their beliefs without being told that they're wrong or they're crazy for thinking this way or cannot believe that you would even consider voting for that political party. What we want to do is encourage young people to be able to have that safe, neutral opportunity to have that conversation.
I think youth workers have a real key role in helping young people navigate politics and democracy and learning how they can get involved in these decision making.
So when it comes to young people maybe challenging our beliefs as youth workers or pushing our buttons or trying to push boundaries, it's really important that we create a safe space with young people. So I always think a really good place to start is a group agreement. We can have these conversations, we can engage. However, we need to remain respectful towards each other. We need to be remaining kind of mindful of the communities that might be in our local areas or representative of the people who's accessing the same space that we're accessing. So again, having that common agreement that we're not here to be nasty, we're not here to be horrible to other people, but we do want to encourage that safe space to explore things. We want young people to be critical thinkers. So if young people are coming to you with an idea or a view, we're not shutting them down straight away. We're asking them, why do you think that? Where did you get that from? What makes you feel like that?
A person came to me and wanted to know more about politics, and they had a real interest. I think to be really interested in something is always when we make it personal. So my idea probably would be to say, right, where was you born? What year was you born? And then we can go back and have a look about the benefits of what politics was doing for the community at that time, and maybe the cons of, the disadvantages that were happening there at that time. And maybe doing a timeline of how, if things have changed and got better, what legislations have come in place, and maybe take that time to mind map and see what changes would you like to see within your community.
I wouldn't say, because some young people don't like school, but I would want school to be fun. Education should be fun, not like you must do. It's something that should be a fun. Let there be choice, because some young people don't want to go to school. They don't want to say. They've said that to me a lot of times. I don't like school. Some will say because of their teacher. Some will say I don't like maths. I don't like English. But if you give a young person, these young people access, or maybe in that same school, you create like informal education there. They might choose, oh, I want to go into hairdressing. I want to go into carpentry. You can still learn maths by learning measurements. You can do fashion in that. So you can still read it and practice it, and not just reading to write down. So I would want to change formal education, informal education together in a school environment. I'll make it fun. Hey, did you hear the news last night? Oh, it was about they're giving something free data, free phone. You want to come along? Yeah, okay, then young people want something. You don't just get them doing something. You have to give and take, or take and give. You don't just take from young people.
We first hosted a hustings event in 2016 for the Senedd Elections, and at the time young people had to be 18 to vote. So it was a really engaging event, running a hustings event in a trampoline park. These politicians had never ever been to a trampoline park, let alone done a hustings event in a trampoline park. But these young people were so engaged. They wanted to ask questions. They wanted to see what these politicians were going to do for young people. Unfortunately, at the time, a lot of the young people were too young to vote. Many years later, we can now vote at 16 in the Senedd Elections, and indeed, in future UK elections, we'll be able to vote at 16. So Boys and Girls Clubs have been doing other hustings in trampoline parks, and yeah, young people are part of the process, they're part of the planning, they're part of the organising, they help with the questions, or they write the questions, and it's all down to the MC then, who asks questions and ensures order. I'd love politicians to listen to young people and engage with the young people, and to listen about their issues and understand what they are going through. So many times politicians may say the party message of what their party is going to do, but young people want a bit of empathy, want a bit of understanding, want to know that their views are being listened to and that they are going to help change their future. There are so many strong advocates of young people who have some really good views, but sometimes they will feel not listened to, and it's so important that politicians listen to young people.
inviting young people, go to youth centres and invite young people to the parliament just to sit down and listen. That is one way you could get them into loving it. If they are not there, if you just come to them, can you just come and do this? There is something called tokenism. They could use young people to get people to vote for them, taking their pictures without their consent, or doing things with young people without young people knowing that they are being used for politics. But if you invite young people into the parliament, ask them questions, make it fun, like an activity, not just sitting down there and listening to these old people talking, but they have to say something. That's where you can definitely get young people into politics.
It's really important that in this time of misinformation, we as youth workers stand true to the principles of the youth work pillars around making sure that actually everything is educative within it as well.
We find that a lot of our volunteers and youth workers are a little bit uncomfortable talking about politics initially with young people. So I believe there needs to be a little bit more training for youth workers to enable that young people's voices are heard. It is tricky, and not all youth workers and volunteers are engaged in politics, but we are there as youth workers with a key set of skills to support these young people navigate something that's new to them. Politics is such an important issue in youth work, and it has for many, many years. But as youth workers, we need to have skills to support young people in enabling those young people to get their voice heard. The youth work sector needs a little bit more investment in training, because youth workers and volunteers we speak to are unsure how to broach these subjects, that young people are talking about and around engagement in politics. So I'm hopeful that there's going to be more training for volunteers and youth workers to learn more about politics and to learn how they can engage more young people so that young people can make really positive decisions about their futures.
There can always be training, I think, but really it takes real deep inner work and some honesty and maybe some critical thinking to then, as we know with young people, they can see through everything. So I feel like the work needs to be, or should be, should be done internally to be able to then sit honestly and sometimes say, I don't know, or let's go see this together, let's go research this together. I don't think we need to know anything, we just need to have as much curiosity as the young people to actually do it together.
To realise and understand that reflective practice plays a huge part of this. Being able to be steered by our organisation that we work for about what our parameters are, how we can engage safely, but also how can we reflect on situations that really challenged us when a young person had a very different viewpoint to you and you actually felt quite upset about it. That's okay as well, but take the opportunity to evaluate, reflect on it and think about how might you deal with that situation differently. And also training is massively important, and that's the important thing that sometimes I think as youth workers we can forget is actually we need to have training on these different areas so that you can learn how to be able to engage in those safe conversations too.
Talking about politics with young people can be very challenging at times, especially if you're a newly qualified youth worker, training to be a youth worker, or you might be rusty, you might want extra training and things like that. Well, at the Youth Work Training Academy, we're very committed to ensuring that youth work practitioners have the right tools to be able to work with young people. And therefore, we are going to put on further training with regards to political engagement in a youth work setting for youth work practitioners all across Wales. And to do that, the link will be in the description box or the comment box, or you can visit any of our social media bios and you'll see the link to the resources there. And feel free to use any of that at your disposal and pass it on to colleagues you think that might find that helpful. In addition, in the lead up to the Senedd, you can find additional resources for talking to young people about politics by going to the Electoral Commissioner's website. You can also go to the Senedd and also the Children's Commissioner's Office, all three of which have teamed up together to provide this resource for practitioners all across Wales who are working with children and young people. And the good thing about all these resources, they're bilingual as well, so they can be accessible all across the country. Thank you for watching. And if you like what you're hearing and watching, please press the like button and don't forget to subscribe.